Good afternoon to all my plant friends and welcome to my channel, Linda Sue Plants for You. Today we are going to be potting up a few things that I purchased last weekend at Stein's Garden and Home in Wisconsin. So let's get to it. It won't take real long, so it's not going to be, I don't think, too long of a video, but I thought I would just show you what I got. And I'm going to start with these. I bought 3 of these. These were 3 for $9.99. And they were just starting to bring out the outdoor plants. And that is the day that we were expecting anywhere from 2 to 5 to 8 to 10 inches of snow. So, and the 3 days prior to that, it was between 60 and 70 degrees. I think we even had a close to an 80-degree day in that same week. But that's what's fun about Wisconsin. You just never know what the weather's going to be. But anyway, so they were frantically trying to get these all into either inside the store or in a greenhouse and get them under cover. And as it turned out, I think we only got like 2 inches, 3 inches maybe. And it melted quickly because the next day it was in the mid-50s. So yay, I think spring's finally here. So anyways, today I want to plant these up in one pot. And eventually they're going to go out on my porch. I did a video about a week ago, and it's going to be the before video. And for those of you that have been following me, you know that I have been talking a lot about a lot of things that we need to get done this year on in and around our home. And one of those things is our front porch. It's in really dire need of some maintenance. So hubby's going to be pulling off the railings and scraping. We'll be scraping and painting those, throwing a fresh coat of paint on our wicker chairs and table. And then my granddaughter actually found a really, really cool stand on the side of the road. They were throwing it out, and the gentleman that happened to be there, she said, "Are you throwing this away?" He said, "Oh yeah, honey, go ahead, take it if you want it." And I'll tell you the story behind that when we get it all done. That we got to paint white too, and that's going to be going out on the porch. And the reason I'm telling you all that is because these are going to be the first plants that go out on the porch once that is all completed out there. I really want to fill my porch up with flowers and color this year. We didn't get a chance to do that last year because the mosquitoes were so horrendous. You couldn't even get from your front door to your car without getting carried away by mosquitoes, literally. So hopefully this year we won't have that issue, and I'll be bringing you the before and after, hopefully, when that is complete. Okay, so I want to just check and make sure that you can see, because I'm looking at my camera here and it's not, I don't know if you're all in. Okay. Okay, I think you can see it now. All right. So, for those of you that know me, you already know that I have my big gray bin out on the back porch, and that's where I mix all of my medium. And then I bring it in and I put it in here in case I have to do something specific for the plants I'm working with. And also it's just much easier when I start putting the soil inside the pot. So for instance, if I'm working with orchids or cactus, I might be adding bark, I might be adding sand, different types of things for different plants. But for almost all of my plants, I start out with an equal part of potting mix. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say equal. It's not equal, and I don't measure it, unfortunately. I start out with, I pour my potting mix in, and then I add the perlite, and then I add the coco coir, and sometimes peat, depending on the plant. Today it's just the first three, and I just do it by eyeball and how it feels. Maybe one of these days I'll take the time to actually measure, but for right now I don't do it. But you can kind of see, okay. This I use to take the plant, the old dirt out and throw it away, because unless it's something that I just recently repotted, I do not like to, I'm going to just move you a little closer here because I don't think you're seeing what I'm doing. I don't like to reuse dirt, or I should say soil, from old plants, because number one, I don't know what's in it. I don't know if it's got any bugs in it. Most of the time when you buy them, especially from the big box stores, they've got a lot of little pellets of fertilizer that's added to the soil, and those are time release, slow release, so I don't know how much is left in them. And I do fertilize my plants quite frequently, so I don't want to burn them. So with the exception of very few plants, I try to take off as much as I can of the old soil. The other issue is, and I touched on this when I repotted the last time, sometimes plants come with those little sacks on them that are supposed to be biodegradable, and I have lost a couple of plants to those before I realized what was going on. So now I like to check all the time for that and make sure that there's no of those little plugs in there, because they don't always biodegrade like they're like the intention was. Okay, so these look pretty good. The roots look very healthy. So we're going to do that to all three of them, and then we're going to put them in this pot. I'm not a real fan of plastic pots. I would prefer either clay or ceramic or stone, or even wood in some cases. But the plastic has become just almost a practical necessity for me, because number one, it slows down on how much I have to water, and we've been using distilled water on most of the plants that we have now. I noticed that made a huge difference. I used to just use it on my very special plants like my calatheas and my dad's plant, the peace lily, which by the way, that saved that plant. But I'm noticing that when I use the distilled water instead of the faucet water, it makes a difference as well. So because we have a water softener and we have a lot of salt in our water, that's one of the reasons, I'm assuming. So that can become expensive after a while. So when you use clay pot, that water evaporates, and I do use a lot of clay, and depending on the plants. But for our purposes, for this plant and for outside here, we are going to put it in plastic. And this is a very sturdy plant. It is going to need a drip tray underneath it, but that's okay because it'll be outside. These holes in the bottom, my husband drilled those for me. And once again, as I said in my last video, You always want to make sure that when you drill the holes, that you drill them in the lowest part of the bottom. The markings that the manufacturer put on there for where you should be drilling holes is actually higher than where we put them. And you don't want to do that because then the water won't get down to the bottom and go out and you'll end up with root rot. Okay, just wanted to mention that. Alright, so let's put some dirt in here, and I'm not quite sure how much we're going to need. And once again, I love the feeling of soil on my hands. There's just something very relaxing and calming about it. Once in a while I will use a garden shovel if I have a lot. But in most cases I just use my hands. Okay, now we're going to try and get the soil where the soil was. There are exceptions to what I'm about to say, but for the most part, most plants do not like to be planted higher than where the original crown was, because it'll cause that to rot. If this is used to being under soil, then it can go back under soil. But if it's used to being out in the air and all of a sudden you pack a bunch of soil around it and keep it moist, then you run the risk of rotting this. I know vegetables like tomatoes, it doesn't matter, and peppers and things like that, but for this plant it does matter. So we're going to put enough dirt in here. We want to make sure that this is at a good level, and keeping in mind that the dirt will it will settle, right? Okay, I think that's about good. Maybe a little bit more. There. Okay. And two more. And as I said, this is a caladium plant. They can go in sun or shade. I do believe you get better color when they're in partial sun. They don't like to bake in the sun. You don't want them in full sun all day long. A full sun of a couple hours won't hurt it, but you don't want to do that for too long. And boy, these really needed repotting a long time ago, which is probably why they're so long and leggy. But we do have new growth coming out of the middle, so that's good. So we're going to take this old soil off of here. I really can't wait till that porch is done and all the flowers are out there and in bloom. It used to be so beautiful, and it used to have we had a lot of roses. But for some reason they just don't do well out here anymore, and I think part of the reason is because our trees that are around our house are so much bigger and mature, so they block out a lot of sun, which that's good for us because it keeps the heating or cooling bills down in the house. But it's not good for the roses because they do like full sun. So there's another one. And we've got one more. And I'm just squeezing the pot. Look at the roots. That's quite a root system going on there. We're going to loosen that up a little bit because we don't want it to continue to grow around in a circle. We want to encourage it to grow out and branch out, right? So that's what we're going to do. Get rid of this at the top. Okay. I think that's a good amount. And always remember when you're repotting, you want to try and get rid of all the air pockets. But you don't want to push it down so that you're smothering it, because the roots do need air. They need oxygen, plants. But if you leave big air pockets in there, where the water isn't being absorbed by the soil, then you'll run the risk of losing those parts of the plant that aren't getting the water. So, kind of a balance there. And again, just a little pressure. Now, don't push down too hard. Okay, I think we're pretty close here. And again, I'm filling it just about up to the edge, but that is going to settle down when we water, so the soil level won't be this high. Okay. There. So there is my caladium. And it's called Florida Red Ruffles. I don't know if you can see that. And again, these plants come in all different colors. I mean, they're green and white and green, all different colored, red, pink. I believe there's, oh yeah, I said white and green. And then also the variegated ones. They're gorgeous. But I've had those in the past and I've never gotten this type, so I wanted to try this year. So I'm going to go ahead and water this up and see how it goes. And let's hope that we have a big, beautiful caladium on our front porch this summer. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more Repotting the Pot from Linda Sue Plants for You. I'm going to be doing a coleus potting shortly. But for now, we'll say goodbye. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.